Now, speaking of marriage, this is getting a lot of attention down in Jefferson City. Here's the headline. Last-ditch effort, this from the Missouri Independent, last-ditch effort to ban child marriage in Missouri must overcome resistance in the House. So lawmakers are trying to ban child marriage in Missouri. A bill outlawing 16 and 17-year-olds from getting married has stalled in a House committee because of a handful of Republicans who have voiced opposition. There are 5 days left before lawmakers adjourn for the year. So this has been taken care of in the Senate, but it's running into roadblocks in the House. Under current Missouri law, anyone under 16 is prohibited from getting married, but 16 and 17-year-olds can get married with parental consent to anyone under the age of 21. This is nuts. This is insane. And this makes Republicans in the House, those who are questioning it, look very, very stupid. You want to talk about going back to the Stone Ages. This is the kind of stuff that they'll do in third world countries. Yeah, I'm going to marry off my kid. That's kind of how it goes. Yep, Dad says it's okay, so we're getting married. Woo! No, you're not an adult. Shouldn't we value how we view marriage through the prism of saying you need to be an adult to make a decision of that magnitude? This is a no-brainer. By the way, almost all minors married to adults are girls, the data shows. And you have a situation where child marriages are oftentimes associated with higher rates of dropping out of high school and later poverty. Like, it's very rarely is it a recipe for success to get married at 16 years old. So this thing got done in the Senate on a bipartisan basis. But it's running into some issues in the House down in Jeff City. Now, why? What's the deal? Well, State Rep Dean Van Schoik, and I don't know if that's how he pronounces his last name, but it's the best I can do. So Dean is a Republican from Savannah. He's the vice chair of the committee, and he's one of the voices in opposition. He said in an interview recently, it's government's intrusion in people's lives. Wait, what? It's government intruding in people's lives to prevent minors from getting married? What? He was then asked, the state rep was then asked, what would be lost if 16 and 17-year-olds couldn't get marriage permits anymore? And he replied, liberties that people currently have. What? Liberties? To marry off your 16-year-old? Like you're sitting in some hellhole in the Middle East? Are you kidding me? I mean, this is the kind of stuff that just sets you up to be a punching bag if you're a Republican. Somehow saying, yeah, no one's going to take my liberties. Marry off my 16-year-old? No, you want to talk about looking like you're in an archaic time. It's a hell of a way to do it. 913-408-7957. I don't understand. I know that we have to be politically divisive in everything these days. I don't think it's necessary, but I guess we do for some reason. But how can you possibly defend keeping open law that allows 16 and 17-year-olds to get married? I'd love to hear it because I can't find the argument. And I'm not sure I want to find the argument, but I'm happy to hear it at 913-408-7957. 6:45 on a Tuesday morning. It's great to be here on 95.7 FM KCMO. I don't know how you can make the argument. What's the argument for 16-year-olds to get married in Missouri? I can't figure it out. Now, it used to be 15 in Missouri. They bumped it up to 16. Whoa, they really scared off, the creepers. Bumped it up to 16. But it was 15 until just a few years ago. And it made Missouri a very popular state for 15-year-olds to travel to be married. So they raised it to 16 in 2018. And now they're trying to get it up to 18. The Senate says sure. Senate's passed it. The House, in the last week of the legislative session, is holding this thing up. And it's because of a couple folks in the House committee. I mean, it gets into the whole legalese of the moment with these politicians. But basically, there's a handful of Republicans who claim that if you bump the marriage age up to 18, it's taken away people's liberties or something like that. It's the government intruding on people's lives. Well, if that's the argument, then there should not be any laws when it comes to minors. And by the way, you know who wants to make that the law of the land? Pedophiles. Nobody would be happier stripping age requirements from everything we do in society, more so than pedophiles. They would love states and countries that do not care one bit about having age standards to make decisions, whether it's drink, smoke, get married, or anything like that. Doug's in Platte City. What's up, Doug? Good morning. What do you got for us?
Good morning. Well, nothing about pedophiles, and I had no points from that perspective, but I do realize that teenagers have sex, and some people don't want to have kids out of wedlock. I know I was in high school, you had the football quarterback and the cheerleader, she got pregnant, and that's just pretty much my point. If a 16-year-old wants to get married, because, for that reason, from where I'm coming from, I think they should be allowed to. That's kind of.
Were you the quarterback, Doug?
I wasn't. I didn't get married till I was 35.
Oh, okay. All right. I didn't know if you were burying the lead there on us or not.
No.
Okay. All right. So you were not the quarterback, but it did happen.
Yeah, it did happen, and it wasn't.
What now? Did they get married?
No, they didn't.
Okay.
They didn't. But she did say in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I thought if they were in love and they're having children, they should have a right to get married.
That point is an interesting caveat to this whole thing, right? If you do have a situation where two people do end up conceiving a child, although I do wonder, I've got to go back and look at the laws on that. I think that if you were to impregnate a 16-year-old and you're an adult, you got a whole set of legal problems on your hands.
Yeah, here we go. I was probably 17-year-old, 60-year-old, so maybe I'm not on the correct topic.
Yeah.
Adult. Or if he was 18, you could be a senior in high school and be 18. So then I guess, you're an adult. Mm-hmm. There's so many things, that as time goes by, they keep kind of changing where you're at. We can go over to Kansas and drink at 18 in the 80s,
Yeah. Here's what I would say, generally speaking, Doug, and I see what you're saying there with trying to find something that is a caveat that may work for why 16-year-olds should be able to get married. But in the end, what I would argue is the following. When it comes to the rule of law, and that's what we're talking about here, right? I mean, what you do within your own faith, within your own church is different maybe, or your place of worship is different from obviously what we look at with the rule of law. There is far more downside to me to opening up the door to 16-year-olds and keeping 16-year-olds in a position where they can get married than removing that from the equation and saying, in Missouri, it is legal. You are an adult at 18. That's when, your adult privileges begin. And that should include things like marriage. Holly Ryder, by the way, is one of the state senators in Missouri who is pushing this. She got married at 15. She's written a book about this. And she said on this piece of legislation, she said, to me, a parent should not be signing their child into a lifetime commitment. That's a decision you make for yourself as an adult. And she got married at 15. She said she didn't realize at the time that she was not operating under an adult mindset. So I'm trying to get her on the show because I'm curious to get her perspective on this. And if we can get her on, I'm trying to get her on the show this morning. We'll try. But I know they got a lot going on down there in Jeff City in the Senate right now. I think they're on like an 18-hour filibuster, and it's just total chaos, as always. John's in Topeka. What's up, John?
Hey, good morning. In my situation, I was 17 when I met the girl. She was 15, and then I turned 18. She was 16, and she got pregnant with my son, and she had the baby, and then I turned 19, she was 17, and then that's when her mom and dad signed off for us to get married because we'd already had a bouncing baby boy, and he was 8 months old when we got married, and in that case, we already had a child together. It was, and it worked out for about 11 years until I screwed things up with drugs and alcohol.
Oh, gosh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's what I'd still been with her probably today if I wouldn't have let drugs get in there. But anyhow, so that was totally my fault on that one for screwing it up. And don't do drugs, kids. All it does is ruin your life. But anyhow, but it sounds like it's fun. But you know what? The less the evil it seems to be, the more the evil it can become. So those of you over in Missouri smoking weed, it's a bad idea.
Yeah.
But anyhow, but because one thing leads to another. But anyhow, in my case, it worked out for 11 years, and it would have continued on because we were high school sweethearts.
But would it have?
Yep.
I got 30 seconds here, but real quick, would it have mattered if you waited till she was 18? Could you guys have made it till she was 18, where she could then make that decision to marry you?
Well, the deal was I had got a job with the state, and for her to get the benefits that I was getting through the state, she had to be married to me. And because back then it was like, oh, no, it wasn't your significant other. It was, are you married, yes or no?
Yeah. You couldn't get just a significant other on the insurance. I see.
Exactly.
Hey, John, good message, buddy. Thanks so much.
Have a good day.
All right. We'll see if we can get Holly Ryder on the show here at some point this morning, shooting for 9 o'clock on that.